Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast, where we talk all things Star Wars. My name is Colin.
I'm Christian.
I'm Brooke.
I'm Ray.
All right, we did that one take. Great job, guys. All right, so there is a lot to talk about. Not just because of all of the Disney stuff that happened this weekend. There's all the Marvel stuff to talk about. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm just kidding. There actually was a lot of Star Wars stuff that that dropped this weekend. From the final release date. Hopefully, it doesn't move up for the Bad Batch. All the way to Tales of the Jedi release date, including all the episodes are dropping at once, which is super cool. To Indiana Jones, to Willow, to the Skeleton Crew, Ahsoka, Mandalorian Season 3. We finally have an official trailer for the public, which is really cool, which we'll talk about. There was a lot of Star Wars news, including which actually happened outside of D23, which was the actual casting of Ezra Bridger. He has been officially cast. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. First things first, kind of like alphabetical order. Andor. It's dropping next week. Okay, Ray actually just corrected me. It's dropping in a week and a half, and this is going to be really good. We are getting another breakthrough in live action, which is live action clones. And it's not, some of them are probably animated, but a lot of them are actually armored, with real clothing and stuff, and an actual armor that people built, which is awesome, especially to the people in the 501st. It's a dream come true. And in the new trailer that just dropped, it actually does show a couple of new shots of clones, and I think that that with the clones that show up, I think that will be near the end of the Clone Wars, or it might be near the end of the Clone Wars, because I think we will have a flashback of Cassian as a child and seeing the trauma and everything from the Clone Wars. How much Clone Wars do you think that we will see in Andor?
I would guess we're going to see very tail end of Clone Wars, very start of the Empire.
That makes sense.
And then we're going to real quick phase out of Clone Troopers and back into Stormtroopers.
Okay.
I don't think we would see them for more than, outside of maybe a flashback, outside of more than an episode.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it will weigh too heavy on the story outside of what we would need to know for context for the current characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree, because I feel like it's going to be mostly based on what's happening in quote unquote current events for him versus flashback stuff.
Yeah, I think we'll get set up in flashback, but that's it.
Yeah.
Why is he in this fight since he was 6 years old? But that's it.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm very excited. The first 3 episodes are dropping on September 21st.
Yes, they are.
Yep. And it's crazy because all of us were at Celebration. We were also just talking about this a couple of months back, and we saw the footage and everything for the first time there. And now we are getting closer to actually seeing it. And then D23 just happened, and there was a lot of news that just dropped, not just for Star Wars, but for Disney, Marvel, and it was very, very cool to see. Something that a bunch of us are excited about is we finally got a date on the Bad Batch Season 2. Unfortunately, it is not this year. It got pushed back.
Almost. It's so close.
Yes.
New Year,
close.
Bad Batch.
Right. Which means there will be a lot of Star Wars happening next year, because there is the Bad Batch, there is Jedi Survivor, there is Skeleton Crew, Ahsoka, and Mandalorian Season 3. And then we're also getting Indiana Jones as well. All in that all in that year. So that's very, very exciting stuff. But for the Bad Batch, I think it got pushed back. I was hoping they would talk about it, but they really didn't. The reason why it got pushed back, in my opinion, is because of Andor got pushed back because the Rings of Power and the House of the Dragon were happening all on the same weekend, and then Andor was supposed to as well, and they didn't want to compete with it. I don't know if they were
Those are
not
hard
scared
shows to compete with.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think that's why they pushed it back. But yeah,
I would hazard it's entirely why it got pushed back, because Rings of Power right now is the most expensive TV show in history. Andor is the second most expensive TV show in history.
Mm-hmm.
So it's already got a really high bar to live up to because it's a popular character from one of the most popular Star Wars movies. And they're kind of like, oh, we can't, that's not going to work. We need to push it back. Push everything back.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it was entirely we don't want to compete. Not that it's not ready.
All right. I was also hoping for a new trailer or something, but they like briefly talked about it. They were just like, and finally, we have a release date. It's going to be happening on January 4th. Here you go. And then that was it. That's how they talked about it. I was like, wow, okay. And something that I'm excited for about that is that show. The first season was so great and it built up the characters, but what's going to be great about the second season is that these characters are established and now we can actually move forward in the plot, and it's a very dark timeline as Andor is, and there's going to be a lot of things that will be connected to the original trilogy in that show. As you know, like it kind of ties into Order 66 more, and we also see Sheev Palpatine himself pop up in the trailer as well. So there's going to be a lot that will be happening in that show, and I'm glad that we won't have to, constantly focus on the story of Omega, kind of building up a story. I'm excited to focus on the other characters, because I feel like at this point in the timeline, I think Omega's growth has been established a lot, and I think more growth will happen in the show. But that was like the main. Okay, so Christian, actually, you know what? Here's a question I never asked you. For season 1, what do you think the main theme was? The like main like lesson of season 1 of Bad Batch?
I think the main lesson of season 1 for Bad Batch is that as many victories as our heroes get, because of where this falls timeline-wise, the Empire always wins at the end. They can go through, they can, blow up bases, they can go steal information, they can go rescue people, they can go save people who are like dissidents. They can go interfere, with Chams and Dula and the family. But regardless of what they do to step in, eventually the Empire is still going to come out on top, because we know the Empire is going to be on top for 10 to 15 years story-wise. It's not until we start getting in towards the Kenobi period that things start teetering, and we start to get a little more, the Empire is not unstoppable in terms like during the timeline. Especially because during start of Bad Batch is right at the end of Clone Wars. Everybody looks at the clone troopers as being like, oh, these are the people that brought stability to the galaxy. And then you start to see that transition into the Imperial dogmatic stormtrooper, where it's that we don't care that you've been on our side the entire time. Show us your identification or you're going to be gunned down.
Yeah.
So season 1 is very much, it's going to be dark. It ends with the destruction of Kamino. It's going to be rough for our heroes. And season 2 it looks like a bit of a time jump based on the trailer. So we're going to hopefully see more of them having established a separate identity from being just troopers or being just the Bad Batch. They've taken on a more smuggler, scoundrel style, like team basis.
Yeah. And for some reason, I don't know why, but I suspect that their ship might blow up at some point and they might end up getting a new ship, because it's just bound to happen. Because I remember building the Razor Crest, and and I just got done building it. I was like, oh, this is wonderful. This is great. And then as soon as that episode came out of in Mandalorian season 2, it just blew up. And I was like, wow, just another ship that I have to go and buy and wait for. Because at the time we didn't know of what his new ship looked like. But of course we went and got it. But yeah, so I am very excited. I'm very excited to explore more of that timeline because it's so critical and there's so much to talk about and so much to explore during it. So I'm hoping that we will see more of that.
Yeah.
And
I'm
not
hoping
only-
that now that we have the characters a little more fleshed out, we can explore more of like that transition
Mhm.
from like Republic to Empire, because that's what I really wanted to see in season 1, and I feel like it just kind of got like pushed under the rug with like Omega and like them basically being the Mandalorian and adopting a child. And
Isn't that all Star
I'm
Wars, though?
serious. No,
Star Wars
seriously,
is just found family with cool helmets. That's what it is.
There
very
you go.
true, very true. So I'm hoping we maybe get a little more into those things in season 2. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I'd like that, but I also really want to know, like, why they made Omega so different.
Yeah. Also, I have a hard time with her being a exact clone or a perfect replica or however they worded it when she is female
Yeah,
and blonde.
so the DNA has been altered, so it's not a
Yeah.
perfect
Right,
DNA.
because she's not a perfect clone. So that's what I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around because I don't get that.
I interpreted it as she's unaltered in the sense that Boba was unaltered in the
Like age-wise.
aging process. She is
Okay.
a perfect clone with like a natural mutation that happened during the phasing. Like it might be that her and Boba are actually like they have to grow 2 at a time. So it might just be a case of that became the boy, that became the girl somehow. I don't know. But
She's the only female that's ever well, I
Yeah.
guess that we know of. I guess I don't know if there were ever.
in the book Brotherhood, there's a reference to a female clone commander.
Okay.
And there is Sister.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
So
Sister the female clone commander?
believe
or is that a
so,
different-
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I-
we
I-
have more
I
than
just learned
one.
about her recently.
I'm guessing it's just an
She's-
uncommon thing.
Was she trans though?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I think.
So
Yeah.
So I mean that could also be the case with Omega, but
Yeah, or it should just be the Kaminoans don't look at gender as being a thing.
maybe.
Because you look at how Kaminoan physiology looks, and it's kind of like, are they just cloning each other with minor mutations constantly to like reproduce?
Maybe.
Oh, is this your
wouldn't that
kid?
be
Yeah, this is
interesting?
me, 53.0.
and then also she's blonde.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we see
And I
Cody's
feel
blonde,
like
and Rex is blonde.
they're old enough to dye their hair or
Was-
bleach their hair.
Was Cody blonde? I missed that.
Cody had like a blonde buzz in
Yeah.
When?
Revenge of the Sith.
He
That man had
Was
light
it
hair
dyed or
during
natural?
bits of it.
Because like some of the clones have different color hair, but I mean they're adults.
Are they
so they
right?
can
Are they
do-
dyeing it?
No, he was
or-
also
Yeah.
on the spaceship.
Whereas
so
like
maybe, right?
Omega's pretty young, so they would have to be bleaching her hair from a young age, which wouldn't make sense.
Yeah,
So she was probably born blonde.
I'm guessing
Most
it's
likely.
she's as close to a perfect copy DNA wise as they could maintain outside of Boba.
That
Mm.
could be.
So it might be if need be, she can be a backup template.
I still have
Or-
questions. I need them to explain it.
Answers, please.
I need an explanation.
Well, I know when the first image of Omega was released, a
Mhm.
lot of people like their first thought was Palpatine
yeah.
because she had the same hair.
Yeah.
Well,
So there's always a question of does she have some Palpatine DNA in her? Because Palpatine, messes with cloning and stuff. I don't know. That's just a wild shot in the dark.
Well, then she's not a perfect clone of Boba, or excuse
Yeah.
me, Django.
well, so she, as my understanding was, she had the same DNA, the fresh DNA from Jango Fett.
Mhm.
So because of Boba's technically alpha, and then Omega's, like
Omega.
Omega.
right. So boom, like those were like the two direct links and like actual like clones that had specific DNA, because I don't think Omega will have that will have the same aging of like the other clones do.
No.
No,
I think she will be
She
very
doesn't have
similar
that hyper
to
aging.
yeah.
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 But can
She'll
you
be
have
30
a
when she's
perfect-
30, not 60 when she's 30.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And then besides the Bad Batch, we have the Tales of the Jedi, and they also dropped a trailer online that had a bunch of new shots that we've never seen before. I know our friend Hunter was freaking out about how they made the clones look more
He was
like
not
they
alone.
do in the movies, like just more kind of screen accurate in live action.
It's a big difference. It's a big departure from their previous animation.
Yeah.
It is huge.
And I definitely saw Anakin and Obi-Wan had different haircuts. They looked a lot different.
Anakin just basically has shorter hair.
Obi-Wan got long
Yeah.
hair.
Dare you? But yeah, no.
I gave
no,
Obi-Wan the Jedi mullet.
yeah,
Oh,
We love to see it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Master in the front, party in the back.
exactly.
no, that's just Jesus.
Space Jesus.
Space
Exactly.
Jesus.
And we also saw so as much as I am excited about of the Ahsoka stories, I'm very excited about all the stuff that they're doing with Count Dooku and Qui-Gon Jinn, because that's something that we've never really seen before on screen. We've seen a lot of Ahsoka's journey. There are a lot of elements in the show that we haven't seen from Ahsoka, but there's going to be a lot that we've never seen with Count Dooku, including young Qui-Gon Jinn, young Mace Windu, Yaddle. In the trailer, no, like seriously,
No, I know. I saw her in
appearance.
the trailer and I just stopped and I was like, "What?"
because of
She's back.
right, because Count Dooku and Yaddle end up fighting, and I'm thinking maybe near the like in the last episode, I'm just gonna take a swing at this and guess, but I'm thinking at the end will end up being Count Dooku like kind of dropping his lightsaber, or like, yeah, actually, you know what? No, he would keep it. He would keep his lightsaber because he would turn his crystal red. But
Bleed his crystal, yeah.
I think he will end up making a dramatic exit and being like, I'm done with the
Is there
Jedi
any other
Order. You like
way
guys are corrupted.
to exit in a Star Wars show?
I don't know. I mean, you're not wrong. There was Ahsoka that had her whole number as she was leaving the temple.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
With including Yaddle, my question is will we finally learn the name of their species?
Probably not.
Doubt it.
I highly doubt it.
I want to know.
Well, see, that's the beautiful mystery, though. And George Lucas, he was very specific about not letting the actual planet, like origin of Yoda and Yaddle, like come out at all.
Do you think
Because
he'll keep that though forever?
I mean, kind of.
Well, if he
I'm-
Back
hasn't
in the
told
day when
anybody,
Star Wars wasn't as big as it was, I feel like that's kind of like a fun little thing. But now that it's so big and
Yeah.
there's so much stuff, do you think that he's gonna really keep that? In
Well,
the dark
not the deathbed
forever?
confession.
Well,
Ooh.
here's the way I see it, is like there are certain characters that I love a lot of that have a lot of mystery, because if you go back and you watch the original trilogy, you have a bunch of those characters that have that mystery. Like, for example, at the time there was Darth Vader. No one really knew his backstory until Return of the Jedi, and was like, oh, okay, you know, he was the Jedi Anakin Skywalker, blah blah blah, and then we got his story in the prequels, and I think that was told well. But now you go and get the story of Boba Fett. You then have the Book of Boba Fett, and you answer that mystery of him surviving the Sarlacc pit. That's great. But then he's changed. He's not the same character that we love and know, and that took the mystery away. For example, I bring this up a lot because I will always be shocked by this, but him and Black Chrysanthemum fighting, he like gets his like butt handed to him. He gets knocked out. They have a fight downstairs, and the fight ends, and then Boba Fett walks down in a bathrobe.
Well, he kind of caught him off guard.
I
Like,
don't care.
It's a man versus a Wookiee.
I just
That's
And
not.
he was in a
gonna, like,
bacta tank.
I just
Exactly.
don't.
Boba had to
like-
make up for the fact that Chrysanthemum's not wearing pants.
I just
So he put on a robe.
I mean, what do you expect the man to do? Get out of a fight with a Wookiee and just walk out
No,
in
no,
his,
no,
his
no.
space underwear?
I think
That
he
doesn't exist
would
in
have
space?
grabbed his armor and put it on and walked downstairs and
we can
would have
see,
continued. Yeah,
There's
Fair
a
enough.
there's a bit where he's being kitted up, and
Yeah.
you can see it's not just a him throwing it on himself. It's not a t-shirt. He needs
help.
handlers to help him in.
It was just a bathrobe. It was just a bathrobe
Well,
for
but
me, man.
Do you think he's gonna take the time to throw his armor on when he's already been defeated? Like, just I don't know.
If Kylo Ren can wear joggers in The Rise of Skywalker, then Boba Fett can wear a bathrobe.
But he
Let him be
wasn't fighting anyone
comfy.
though.
Wait, when does he wear joggers?
He's basically
Um,
in joggers right at the very end. It looks
I
like he's
thought
running
those
around
were
in
just
joggers
baggy
and sweatpants.
jeans.
They look like
Joggers and
sweatpants.
the sweater.
Yeah, when he does the
It
shrug.
was a good. It was
Oh,
a good look.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks
all I
like
heard
he's
on the
kind of
car ride
wearing
home,
joggers
so.
in the shirtless scene in the
Yeah, probably
oh.
probably the same pair. Yeah.
The Last Jedi.
Paired with a high-waisted
Yes.
cummerbund.
Yes.
So I am very excited about the show because we are diving deeper more into that prequel era. And that's always a fun place to go because a bunch of us here are Clone Wars fans, and that's to me just seeing more Ahsoka, seeing more Qui-Gon, and the fact that Liam Neeson is coming back and actually voicing him, including his son as well. So apparently it's going to be a mix of his voice and his son's voice because
Apparently his son was
Oh,
also a
fun.
physical reference for what young Qui-Gon should have looked like.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice.
Oh,
Liam Neeson's son
cool.
is like a spitting image of Liam Neeson. It's like a young
Yeah.
man, like spitting image.
I would like to make the note that the voice of Count Dooku sounds exactly like Alan Rickman, and I'm not mad about it.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go back and listen now.
Severus Snape, Dumbledore.
As soon as his voice came on in the trailer, I was like, "Is that Alan Rickman?
That's
Um,
impossible.
That's not possible."
He is the same actor that voiced him in the Clone Wars and has
Yeah.
pretty much voiced him throughout every Star Wars game since like the early 2000s.
Yeah, that
but-
man is Dooku.
Yes. Yeah.
Also, I do want to say I'm a little sad that the trailer, one of the opening shots is Padme's funeral.
Ah,
yeah. Yeah.
Also, when they're quick cutting a lot of different scenes, you see Ahsoka in the procession.
yes.
So she was at Padme's funeral.
Oh,
And that leads me, well, first of all, the emotions from that alone. Second of all, Sabe was also there, so give us animated handmaidens, Dave.
Look, Dave.
Oh,
Dave
boy.
will give you animated handmaidens as soon as he can figure out a way to tie them into an Order 66 montage.
Of
Yeah.
course.
and
That's
and
what Dave
and
does.
right, and then on top of that, you just have to throw some just in the background some Max Rebo music, and then boom, perfect.
Yeah.
You
There
know,
we
if
go.
we get handmaidens, I will allow all the Max Rebo in there.
Oh
Okay.
man, I will
But-
still not get over the fact that they had Max Rebo at the Mandalorian experience because I remember walking in, and that was the first thing that I went to around that corner, and it was on a live stream. Did you get the chance to go, Christian?
I never got a chance to make it.
Oh, bro.
oh, bummer.
Yeah.
You missed the glory, bro. I was crying, man. I walked in. I was so happy. I was like, this is life. This is what it's about, bro. I'm just kidding. But But yeah, so that will come out on October 26th. All 6 episodes are dropping. The actual length of the episodes haven't they have not been said exactly. But James was at the Tales of the Jedi panel in Anaheim at Celebration when it was happening, and he actually saw the first episode, and he said that it dived deep into the lore of Ahsoka and her her kin and just the planet and everything.
Got found and everything.
And I think that's exciting, especially for all Ahsoka fans, and including my wife, because she's obsessed with Ahsoka.
Which,
but yeah,
Yes, I am.
I am going to take the chance to plug E.K. Johnson's Ahsoka novel. I have yet to read it myself, but apparently there is a scene in the show from the book.
And I think I know which one it is, because
because
as it was playing, I literally saw it and I was like, whoa, back that up. I was like, back that up. Hang on.
Yeah,
I think I know what that is.
E.K. Johnson posted a frame of it, and with just a bunch of exclamation points. And my friends were like, yeah, that scene happens in the book. So it's her scene. So definitely need to read that before I watch the show.
I read that book in one day.
It's a very quick read. It's also a very good read.
Yes, it was so good.
Yeah.
10 out of 10. Do recommend.
there you go. There was a lot, and it kind of reminded me of like all the news that dropped at D23 for all the Star Wars stuff. It was very similar to what we got at Celebration, but then they showed a tiny bit more than what we've never seen. For example, they talked about the Skeleton Crew, and Jude Law showed up, and we actually got our first look at his character.
What
and
a handsome man.
They gave us more of a description of what the show will be about.
Which I, for some reason, thought it was animated. I don't know why.
Live action.
My impression was also animated at the beginning when they talked about it at Celebration.
Yes. So this was the concept art that was shown to us in Anaheim, and what the show is, and they kind of talked about it more. The show is about these kids that get lost in the Star Wars galaxy. We don't know anything about Jude Law's character. We only know that the person directing the actual show is John Watts, who made all of the new MCU Spider-Man movies. And if you like those, then you will probably like the Skeleton Crew. Now, what a lot of people are saying is they're hoping that Skeleton Crew will be very similar to Stranger Things, and it will have that vibe of that dark vibe. Just because there's kids in it doesn't mean it's going to be a kids show.
Yeah.
And they actually did say that
that's what they said at Celebration, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very exciting because I've been wanting a show that will have like in the Star Wars universe that will have that kind of same 80s vibe that we've gotten from, other retro shows like Stranger Things. And I would like to sit back and just, it feels like you're putting in an old 80s VHS and you're sitting there and watching it. Like, I want that vibe for the show, but I also want that serious tone as well. And I'm hoping that we get that with Skeleton Crew. I and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are consultants for the show.
They're producers.
Yeah, and I think it will be a hit. I've got faith in those guys. They have not strayed us away so far. And speaking of them, they also dropped new footage for The Mandalorian. Some of it is very similar to what we got at Celebration, and there are shots that I definitely recognized from the trailer. But there was also a couple of new shots as well. And I'm very excited for it. It looks like it got pushed back to spring of next year. It sounds like a lot of the shows are coming out in spring. The original date for The Mandalorian was supposed to be like in February, but now it sounds like it might have got pushed back to March. I think it might happen right before Star Wars Celebration next year, because Star Wars Celebration is happening in April again.
Yeah.
All the way back to the original date that they did for Chicago. So I'm very hopeful that it doesn't get pushed back. I hope Bad Batch doesn't get pushed back again. They did not talk about Jedi Survivor at all either. I wanted to bring that up because that's also coming out in the spring as well. They had their first games panel, and the only thing they talked about was the Lego Star Wars game and how they're adding new DLCs, which is just character DLCs. So it's like Clone Wars, Rebels, from the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. That game is incredible, by the way. That has a lot of free roam, and there's a 30-minute mission where you have to bring Max Rebo from Tatooine all the way to Naboo so he doesn't miss his concert. It's pretty cool. I would definitely play it. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, no,
really?
Yeah. That was the first side mission I did. People kept telling me about it.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Imagine my surprise.
Yeah, well, it was so cool, man. Like, it was awesome. Because you will start out at Jabba's palace, and then you have to fight your way to a transport, and you like have to fight your way through the Dune Sea, and you've got thugs coming after you, and it's like, this is great. I am protecting one of the most legendary characters in Star Wars right now. It was fun. It was a good time. But
imagine liking a job so much you have to literally fight for your life to get there. I can't.
Yeah, I was gonna say being attacked like that seems a little extreme, but okay.
Hey, no, wait. I think the plot was what the plot was that a rival band hired different mercenaries and bounty hunters to like stop him. So then that way, if he got killed or something, then they would take over that spot at the concert.
Imagine being so desperate for a concert slot that you would murder your competition.
That's pretty cutthroat. Wow.
It feels like an opening.
That's showbiz, baby.
Is it a soap opera?
Probably.
Yeah, no. I mean, hey, that was just a side mission in a Lego game. So imagine all the other side missions they have. And they're very detailed too, by the way. But that will be dropping this winter for all of the DLCs for Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. But back to Mando, they showed the actual dome of the main city on Mandalore, and I'm very excited, but I'm afraid because it seems like there's a lot of things that are going to happen, and I feel like the stakes are higher than ever. I think that Bo-Katan is on that level of where she really wants that sword. Like, she really wants the Darksaber. And I think she wants to win it the right way. Do you guys think that they will end up like fighting for it? Or do you think that that Mando will be just like, dude, have it. I want nothing to do with it. Just take it.
I don't think
he
will...
wants nothing to do with it.
Yeah. I don't know that she would take it. Just by the way she looked when she saw him holding it.
Mm-hmm.
But she also has a very unhinged vibe, even from like the Clone Wars. Every time I saw her, she just had like sort of like unhinged feral energy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. She seems kind of unpredictable, and I like that. She's hard to read.
One thing that
very
I got
much so
from the newest trailer compared to when we saw it at Celebration was it feels like there's going to be actual conflict between the Bo-Katan Mandalorian loyalists and then the covert style Mandalorians.
Yes.
Because initially it looked like, oh, it's just Din being hunted by both factions. No, it looks like it's both factions pitting against each other. And then also Din's just caught in the middle.
Okay, so you were thinking there would be a other Mandalorian civil war,
if not full on civil war, definitely a attempt by the Armorer and Paz to undermine Bo-Katan.
And we actually also got a shot of it was not Babu Frick. It was a species, but it is confirmed that we are getting Babu Frick in Mandalorian season 3. And it showed a what?
He's my oldest friend. I've known him for 30 minutes.
And we see a shipyard that looks like Corellia. There's a chance that we might be going back to Corellia, which would be super cool.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Are we hoping to see any main, like any of the main trio from the original trilogy, like Anakin, Luke, Leia, or Han?
I'd be okay with a reference to him. I don't want to see him.
Okay. Agreed.
I think
this
Luke
is not their story
to see.
Yeah, and even then, I hope they keep it minimally.
Yeah.
I
just it's not their story. I don't want it.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Well, here I'm gonna ask the question again. What about Ahsoka? Do we want to see?
Show up in everything.
Oh, okay. All right.
Cool. I want Luke to make an appearance in Ahsoka. I don't want him to have a sustained part of it.
I want to see him talk to Force Ghost Hayden. I think that will bring everything full circle, because we just got that in a new book that came out, and the entire time that I was reading it, I was just of that part in the book. I was just like, I want this in live action. I want Luke to communicate with Anakin. I think of Ahsoka, Anakin, and Luke were talking, and maybe there was R2 in the background or something. Like that would be it for me, and because that's something that has been dreamed about for me ever since Return of the Jedi came out. I remember watching that and seeing, just being like, I want them to talk. I want them to have a conversation. I want Anakin to stow him some wisdom. Yeah. So
I really want to know, like, for the Ahsoka show, I really want to find out how Ahsoka and Luke met.
Yeah, I hope they talk about that.
I think they will.
That'd be a good thing to get cleared up.
I think they will, because I think Ahsoka will fill in a lot of those gaps that were not shown in her first appearance in live action, because we just saw her on the planet and we were like, oh, okay. But I think what Ahsoka is going to do is it will fill in the gaps from that time that she left the world between Worlds and Rebels, and through the events from Return of the Jedi to the present timeline in Mandalorian. I think they will talk about that. I would be surprised if they didn't, because there is a lot of big time gap where in Rebels it was she got pulled out of between worlds, and then you go to near the end of Return of the Jedi and she shows up as Ahsoka the White, like Gandalf, and she has a staff and she has a white cloak, and it's like, that's great and cool, but where have you been? What's going on? Like, what's the story? I know you're about to go see Ezra, but we need some details. So I think they will talk about it,
especially because she's been around them for the entire period that Luke was with the Rebellion.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that the Padawan of Anakin Skywalker is not going to go out of her way to go meet the son of her master?
Right.
Just to be like, are you anything like him? Oh, no, you're way more level-headed. Okay. What do you mean spinning is not a thing you do? What?
But before moving on to Ahsoka, I do want to say I'm loving the upgrade that Bo-Katan got in this trailer, her hair looks phenomenally better.
That's a nice wig
compared to the it looks a lot more like Clone Wars.
Yeah. Also feels less Lego piece.
Yeah. I do want to ask this question. Because she's going to be in the show. It might come up. Who's to say? But I really want to know. Are we ever going to find out who Corky's mom is? Because it's referred to as Teen's nephew, right? Right.
Yes.
Which would imply that Bo is his mom. But there's nothing else confirming that. So there's either a third sister or Satine's his mom.
It could also have been a brother.
Oh.
But we don't know of any brothers.
Right.
We only know of those two sisters.
We don't know if they're the only Kryze siblings to have survived that civil war, though.
I want to know.
Because it could be that.
I want to know.
Personally, I make Corky Kenobi believer, but
same.
Because there's just a few too many similarities.
Looks don't lie.
Don't lie.
Here's my thing with that. Yeah. Okay. So here's my thing with that, though. If that ends up being the case and everything, that's great. But at the same time, do you think that kind of defeats the purpose of Obi-Wan trying to set that example? Like, he was telling Anakin not to go down the same path like that he almost went down, like with Padme. And then if he ends up being the father of Corgi, which I don't know if they would drop that bombshell like just randomly in season 3.
No, I don't know that that bombshell would be dropped. I think how we would find out would be Bo making some sort of comment about her family, or referring to her sister, or if she has any other siblings.
Yeah.
Because if she makes a note that it's just her and her sister, and that's her family, then we have the answer.
That said, there's something I've been thinking about a lot in terms of how Mandalorian culture works. Because they talk about Din and Grogu being a family, a clan of two. You are as his father. One of the things I've been thinking about is because Mandalore works off a clan basis and you can be adopted into families and clans, it could be that the term auntie for Satine used by Corky is like a familial honorific that we have. Like, I have uncles and aunts that are in no way related to me by blood.
Yeah.
So it could be a similar kind of honorific, older female, not my mother.
I'd just like some sort of answer on that. Because I feel like it's there's enough there that could, like, even if it's just like, oh, he's adopted, which would make a lot of sense too.
Yeah.
I just really would like to know.
See, now I feel like if Dave Filoni was here, he would just try and change the subject as much as possible.
100%.
That's what he does every time, though.
Right. But with him changing the subject, that would answer the question right there. To be like, okay, so it's true then. Because I definitely see both sides. It's very interesting why they never really said that, like, of what his actual origin is. And it would have been cool to maybe them talk about that in the Kenobi series. If they end up doing season 2, boom, there you go, I guess.
There's a plot point right there. I think it's also entirely a thing where Dave introduced this along the same lines of why Sabine has different armor every season of Rebels. And that's just to mess with the fans. Like, he explicitly said that the only reason why he changed Sabine's costume in every season was just to mess with the cosplayers.
That tracks.
That tracks.
Shoot, there was also something else I was gonna say based around that. Shoot. Come back to me when I get that train of thought back on track.
All right.
Okay, so we get this shot from the Ahsoka series, which honestly, I think what's going to happen is some point during the show, or maybe right in the beginning of the show, will be exactly where they left off at the series finale of Star Wars Rebels. And we already got live action, like live action Ezra that was announced. It's not the same actor that was that played live action Aladdin. A lot of people thought that, but it's not. It's not him. Unfortunately, they actually chose. They actually chose someone else. His name is. I'm gonna try my best to pronounce this. Himan S. Fondi. And he is a indie actor, so he hasn't done that many big projects. And I'm very hopeful. There you go.
He looks great.
He looks like him.
Oh yeah,
he looks like him. Like I saw the picture and I was like, holy smokes. Like I looked him up too to try to see if I'd seen him in anything. And it actually came up that he was a director. Like that's what his little thing said on Google, but didn't have too much listed under it. But he looks spot on.
I'm a little heartbroken that it's not Raul Coley. But
I mean that was a huge campaign during the during 2020 because I remember seeing that everywhere I went, and then on social media, and then he started posting it too, just to kind of get that ball rolling. But I think they made a great choice. I'm still hoping that they stick with the same actor that played Thrawn.
Yes, Lars Mikkelsen.
Oh my gosh, hands down, fantastic actor. Like my gosh, dude. Like they have to keep him for live action because he voiced Thrawn in such a beautiful and dark, scary way that I couldn't imagine anyone else like voicing Thrawn or playing Thrawn. Like it was done so well.
It's also like Thrawn is described in a lot of the books and a lot of the comics as being like, Chiss are humanoid, but they're slightly like bigger and like just better than human in a lot of different regards. Lars Mikkelsen is something like 6'4", 6'5". The man is tall.
Yeah.
If the last name is familiar, it's because his brother is Mess Mikkelsen, who played Grindelwald in the new Fantastic Beasts, and
he also played Galen Erso
series, and he played Galen Erso.
Yep.
Yeah.
So man,
he'd be perfect for it. Just blue makeup, black wig, done.
Yeah.
Do
not forget the scary big red eyes either.
So I just Googled his name because I was curious if he was the one who was in Sherlock. Under movies and TV shows, Ahsoka is like one of the top ones that pops up for what he stars in.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if it's confirmed though.
It was last year. Well, yeah, I think it was last year. Rosario Dawson went on social media and said congratulations to a couple of people for joining the Ahsoka team, and then she took it down later. But he was on there, including the actor from live action Aladdin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it could entirely have it where he's voicing Thrawn, and then they have another person for Thrawn.
See, I wanted that for Ahsoka. I really wanted that because Ashley Eckstein has such an iconic voice. Like, she is Ahsoka. So as much as I love Rosario Dawson, when I first saw her up there, I was kind of skeptical because I was like, Ashley Eckstein is Ahsoka. Like, that was her to me. But then after seeing her come up a couple of more times as Ahsoka Tano, as like for Rosario Dawson, I saw it and I accepted it, and I do enjoy her as Ahsoka. But if they did that because I think once we saw Katie Sackhoff come back as Bo-Katan, to me that was like, all right, cool. We're definitely gonna get Ashley Eckstein, and then we didn't, and I was like, oh man. and I'll be disappointed if it's not Mickelson
Lars.
because of he's that voice is so iconic to Thrawn. Like it's so iconic to that character. And if you bring on some other guy to do that, to me it's not going to work. Like I mean his voice is so precise and it's very unique. And I think I don't know.
His voice is iconic enough to where in the Thrawn audiobooks, the person who's recording the audiobooks is doing an impression of him.
Yeah. It's like, no, dude.
Which, by the way, to anyone listening and watching, if you haven't read the Thrawn series, go read the Thrawn series. It's amazing.
I think you saw someone at Dragon Con. They did the costume. Was it Elliot or something? Who? No, it wasn't you. It was someone else. Who? Forgive me because I haven't read the Legends one in a while, but he like had an officer. He like had a snake thing.
Oh yeah, there was one of them walking around.
I can't think of his name, but I saw a picture and I was like, oh, that's super cool because no one does that costume at all.
Yeah.
But do we think we'll be seeing more stuff from Legends pop up in some of these new projects?
I hope so.
Yeah. I'm hoping for a Dash Rendar. I'm putting all my cards on the table for that character. I love him. Shadows of the Empire was amazing. I loved that game. I love that character. I love a ship. And the fact that same type of ship showed up in Star Wars Rebels, I freaked out because I was like, I love the Outrider. It's very similar to the Millennium Falcon. It was also made on Corellia, but it's so cool, bro. Like man, I would love to see that ship live action.
I think the big thing is anything that they do in Legends that they try to bring in, they have to find a way to cohesively bring it in.
Right.
And it's very hard to do that with a lot of Legends content because we start getting conflicting origins on characters because a lot of Legends content doesn't tie into other Legends content.
I could see it happening in the Skeleton Crew because if you think about it, they are getting lost in the galaxy. They're exploring it.
Yeah.
And they will probably run into, some type of trouble and like scum and scoundrels and stuff. That would be a great thing to, a great person to introduce. And then actually to think about it, I don't think they announced who Jude Law's character is of what his name is or anything.
No, we just know it's Jude Law.
Right.
He's playing himself.
Yeah. He's playing Dumbledore. You didn't know? Yeah. Because he's hopping through worlds. Yeah. He got bored at Hogwarts. Don't blame him.
So we'll have to see.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
There's a lot of promising Star Wars content coming.
Yes, and including at the parks, Christian will be able to experience this.
Yes, I will.
Very soon. Din, Djarin, and Grogu are going to be coming to the parks this November over at Disneyland. Not Disney World, Disneyland. And they finally showed him at D23. He looks great. I think Grogu is going to be the main thing that blows people away.
Yes, because that is an animatronic.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Its head turns, he blinks, he reacts to audio.
Now, is that going to be somebody else puppeting him, or is it going to be the Din?
My guess is it's going to be. Well, I don't know. I guess my gut says it's going to be the Din actor because he'll want him to react to like what he's saying and what's going on around him.
At the same time, I think it's going to be something that Christian and I are actually used to seeing, including Ray, which is every time there is a R2 unit, there's always someone usually, kind of behind them using the controller.
Yeah, 10, 15 feet away.
There could be someone, there could be someone that will follow Mando that will kind of blend in with the crowd, and then he'll probably be like, controlling like the movements, because it's going to be hard for the actor in that costume to do that. That would be a very hard thing to do in multitask and interact.
Yeah, it'd be hard to keep track of interacting with guests yourself and having an animatronic interact as well.
I would probably guess that the voice lines or any sounds that come from Grogu will be tied to whatever voice lines that the sound glove for the actor will be using.
Right.
And then it's just a puppeteer controlling the actual Grogu.
Now, my question is, because Batuu currently takes place between episodes 8 and 9, so are they changing that in Disneyland?
What they've been doing now is they've been having Boba and Fennec strictly stay in the marketplace area. They don't go in the Falcon courtyard. They don't go in the First Order courtyard or anything. Mm-hmm. They specifically stay next to
the training area.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're kind of doing it like Magic Kingdom does, where like each princess kind of has their own area.
Oh yeah.
That kind of thing.
Because it would be weird to see Mando and Boba and all of them walk right next to the Falcon.
And all of a sudden, there's Rey talking to Ben. What?
It would definitely throw things off. Now, Chewie could definitely end up like running into them at some point, because even though we haven't seen it in the timeline, we've never seen these characters on this planet. So anything is possible, but you would never see Kylo Ren, interact with Mando or like anything like that. Like that would never happen. But Chewie could definitely do it because he was alive during that, during that Mandalorian timeline, because it's taken place during that 30-year gap from Return of the Jedi to The Force Awakens. So I could definitely see Chewie and them like running into each other at some point. Will it happen? Probably not anytime soon, but they could definitely do it if they wanted to.
I could also possibly see, because Batuu East in Disney World has Star Cruiser. The Star Cruiser really ties Batuu East into that time period. I don't think they'd ever permanently change it, but I could see them doing periods of time where they have different eras at Blackspire in Disneyland.
Yeah.
Because Blackspire exists in the Thrawn books from the Clone Wars all the way through the Empire. We know it exists during the sequel trilogy. So it's entirely possible they could do like just a period of a couple weeks where it's like, oh, instead of First Order Stormtroopers, it's the normal Stormtroopers, and instead of Kylo Ren, it's Darth Vader running around, and we'll just ask everyone to ignore the fact that it's the wrong ships and the wrong flags and the wrong everything else.
Yeah.
I hope
because
I could see them doing it.
I don't personally think they would ever do that.
I
just think that sounds like too much work for Disney World. And if I've learned anything for the past couple of years about Disney World, is that they seem a little lazy.
Disneyland's lazy too, but at least it's smaller.
Well, look at all the stuff that Disneyland is doing that Disney World isn't even attempting.
Can we get Avengers Campus, please?
No,
and there's that. You can blame Warner Brothers and Sony for that.
You can 100% blame Universal for that, but just Disneyland is like bringing all these characters and doing so much more, and Disney World is just not.
But it's important to think about it as Disney World is the tourist park, whereas Disneyland is the locals park in Southern California, and they need to constantly change it to keep people coming back.
That's true.
Because people go to Disney World, they expect the same experience consistently. But if people go to Disney, it's like, okay, I've seen the entire park in like 2 days. Why should I come back next year or in a month or in 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, because there's a lot more to see in Disney World than there is in Disneyland, just because of the size.
Yeah, I'm very excited for what's to come. I was hoping for some type of expansion announcement. There was not. They have the room for it. I'm really curious of what Galaxy's Edge is going to be like in the next couple of years, especially if they're not really doing anything with the sequels. Will they end up changing things? Will they end up adding things that will kind of age out the sequels?
That's what I'm thinking, because so much of the content we see coming forward from Disney either takes place just before the original trilogy, or takes place in that gray zone between the fall of the Empire and the start of the First Order. So it's entirely possible that they might change up the park within a couple of years. I don't know what they do.
I don't think there's a need to, like you had said, like throw it back and bring like Darth Vader into Batuu, because in Hollywood studios there are like Star Wars areas where those characters could hang out.
Yeah.
So they could bring those characters to the park without having them be in Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll have to wait and see. I am hoping that eventually they add some stuff from The Mandalorian and all these other shows to Star Tours, because I think Star Tours deserves more.
Yeah, Star Tours can be constantly updated like that.
Yeah.
Yes. And
I wish Star Tours would stop hopping me through different time periods during the same ride, but
I think they've gotten a lot better at that, because these past couple of times I went on, it would either stick during the prequel timeline
era,
or of that era, or it would jump from the original trilogy to the sequel, like where it would just stay in its own lane. And I don't know if it's because a lot of people have been like, that ride's not canon. You can't jump from the Battle of Hoth all the way to the Battle of Coruscant. That's not how that works. So I could definitely see them where they're trying to get kind of dialed back on that. But I think seeing more stuff in The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan, maybe even from the Skeleton Crew and Rogue One, all just kind of put that in Star Tours, because there's so many more new places and planets to see. And I think as great as all the iconic, planets are, all the planets that have been introduced through all these shows and other movies would be very, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've had a hunch, because if I remember correctly, on the Galaxy's Edge plans when they were first talking about building the park, there was supposed to be a large sit-down restaurant with reservations in Batuu somewhere. They wound up dropping it, but the area is still present for them to build into it. And I'm really hoping that they kind of take, we have all this stuff from The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, so let's just build a sit-down area that feels kind of like an expansion on the cantina, or if it feels more like Garsa's luxury den.
Okay.
Because I think it'd be a way for them to make more money, which I know Disney is always in favor for. But also would allow people to spend even more time and money in Galaxy's Edge.
Plus, you could have Max Rebo performing.
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
True.
Exactly.
Look, we got DJ Rex in the cantina.
As
and
long
we get Max Rebo in the sit down.
As long as the puppet or animatronic that they have for Max looks more like the original and less like the Book of Boba Fett one, because the Book of Boba Fett one is a little creepy.
But it's still Max Rebo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
And the other condition is I have to be the one that's operating.
Obviously.
Okay.
Yeah. I would do that until the day I die.
You get to do that, and I get to be Sabe.
Boom. There you go.
Figured it out.
There you go.
Higher
Making
ed,
dreams
Star
come
Wars.
true. There you go. But yeah, no, that was the main stuff about Star Wars. We never really got anything nothing about Jedi Survivor, unfortunately. Nothing with the games, no really new projects. The main taker from, most of the time at D23, I feel the main panels that always end up making the most impact is Marvel. And to be honest, I think Disney outdid Marvel this year. They dropped a lot of stuff more than Marvel and Star Wars, and they actually their parks panel was almost 2 hours long. That was a long panel. And they also dropped a bunch of new projects of remakes and everything. And Lucasfilm is doing that as well with Indiana Jones 5. And they haven't said the title yet. Here's my take on it. I don't think they're gonna give them a title. I don't think they're going to give them a title. I think they're just going to leave Indiana Jones 5 as Indiana Jones. And that honestly makes the most sense to me because it's closing out the story. I won't really spoil like the full trailer that they dropped at D23, but it's very reminiscent to Raiders of the Lost Ark, and he actually does talk to Sala from Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade, which is wonderful because I love that character so much, and I'm glad that he's coming back.
I'm pro anything with John Rice Davies in it.
I know, dude. I know. So I'm beyond pumped for that, and I am very hopeful for the movie. There's been a lot of rumors that there's going to be time travel in it, but we'll have to wait and see for that. That will debut June 23rd of 2023 of next year. So very exciting stuff about that. And this is Harrison Ford's last one. He said after this he's done. He's not coming back for more. But
the man's old. He's got planes to not land properly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yo, what up? I'm invading your podcast. Hey,
yes, you are
from the Marvel Stuff Pod. Letting you finish in your point, but you know.
Yeah. We have one more thing before we dive into some of those Marvel announcements, which is Willow. Have any of you besides Brooks seen the original movie?
A long time ago.
Absolutely not.
Never even heard of it until Celebration.
Oh, it's so good. It was a movie that was made that was created by George Lucas and Ron Howard shortly after Star Wars came out, and the special effects that they used for it over at Industrial Light and Magic was incredible, and it was groundbreaking, and it was never seen in a film before. And the story was pretty decent. It stars Warwick Davis, who played Wicket. He played Professor Flitwick in the Harry Potter series, but his second role ever was in Willow, and he was the main character. And now that he's back, there are some actors that you know from it. There is Tony Revolori from the new Spider-Man movies. He played Flash Thompson.
And also in The Servant on Apple TV. He's pretty fun on that show.
And then you have Aaron Kellyman, who played Hidden Fist Nest in Solo, and then she also help me out, Josh. She was the character and Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Carly?
Yes, her. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Me first Marvel question right. Just gonna check mark Alan.
But that was like the main Star Wars news. Now we are gonna dive into
Willow's related to Star Wars? Is it, or is it just George Lucas project?
It's Lucas.
It's Lucas.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if they were like, yeah, well, actually, the Mandalorian's gonna show up, so better watch out for that.
Yeah. No.
Who's to say?
That's true.
No.
There'll be a Mandalorian-esque character.
I like
some guy in a shiny bucket that doesn't take it off.
Yeah. Exactly. But diving into the Marvel news, there was not that much that was some of it was new, and then some of it was very similar to what we had at San Diego Comic-Con, except they gave us more news about it.
They tossed some more stuff in there too, where, I mean, everyone was like, where did Armor Wars go at Comic-Con? And then they're like, yeah, we brought it up at D23. It's a little bit further down the line than they had expected. We got our first look at the Werewolf by Night thing, which I'm actually pretty excited for, seeing Marvel venture into the horror genre, so that's going to be kind of cool. Outside of Multiverse of Madness, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's more fringe, I would say. This one seems like it's going to be, full power.
I mean, Blade
Monster Man
exists, so...
That's true. That's not Disney Marvel. It will be, though. It will be. I'm excited for that.
I can't wait to have them try to clean up Blade's, iconic catchphrases.
I hope they don't. I hope that he gets. I hope he gets to keep the rated R. I hope he gets like grandfathered into being able to say whatever he wants.
I think they will. I think because they are adding Deadpool, I think Blade will not be held back. I don't think Daredevil will be held back. I think when he shows up in She-Hulk, I think his character will be kind of PG down.
He's just gonna be less
like
brutal,
Kingpin.
man. He's not known for like swearing all the time anyway. I mean, he does here and there. It's more of the blood thing that they'll probably have to tone down.
Yeah.
And I don't foresee him taking out an army of hand soldiers in this show anyway. It's gonna be a quick cameo where we get to like say what's up and then move on.
Yeah.
If anything, it'll be the Deadpools that get toned down.
Yeah. Well, so here's my thing about it. Kevin Feige already stated that they will not be changing the rating for Deadpool. That will stay rated R. And they were actually hoping that they would be able to bring more rated R stuff to kind of keep some of the audiences in, which I think they're hinting at that because they want to bring back in.
Well, they're graduating to that point. That's why they added Deadpool and Logan and other rated R projects to Disney Plus. I think they're starting to try and get people used to the idea of them moving forward. They're like, hey, this isn't just for kids type of thing.
And honestly, I think they want to bring back most of the Defender characters back, especially the Punisher. That character was amazing. His show was fantastic. I think putting him in the MCU with characters like U.S. Agent and the Thunderbolts, I think that would be so cool.
Me and Coach have talked about this on the podcast before, that it's just funny to think that John Barenthal's Punisher is going to be in the same universe as like Ms. Marvel. It just feels weird. It's like, so that was in a high school gym where they had some Home Alone antics, and then we get to see just mass murder caused by cancel the one-man army.
That is the Punisher. How do we like the lineup for Thunderbolts?
I didn't see Bucky coming. I was surprised at that. I was glad to see him because it's pretty well known that he's like one of my favorite characters in the MCU. So getting to see him get developed even a little bit more, pretty dope. I'm excited. I don't care about Ghost at all. Does anyone care about Ghost? And like they butchered Taskmaster in Black Widow, which is kind of unfortunate because Taskmaster is kind of a big deal in games and comic books.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably, B-list, but higher on the B-list.
Well, do we think Taskmaster will be the same, like the same person that we saw in Black Widow? So it's that girl. And
the daughter, yeah.
So I'm not complaining that Bucky's in it. I just don't see him working with John Walker.
No.
Yeah, he's gonna hate that guy. But they're gonna be one of the only ones with like an established relationship. Obviously, Yelena and Red Guardian are pretty.
I'm
close
so
as
excited
well.
to see Yelena again.
I know. I was thinking of like, because at one point there was a romance between Natasha Romanoff and Bucky Barnes. I mean, they could maybe hint at that type of thing. With Yelena, I don't know. There's a lot of different directions they could go. I'm just really excited to see more Red Guardian.
Yeah, Yelena just moved up on my costume list, so that was dangerous.
She's great. I've said many times she's one of my favorite new characters. I'm really excited to see.
She's fantastic. She's great.
Moving forward, she's going to be one of the best.
She
characters.
gets to be the sarcastic, funny one.
I know, it's great.
Now we didn't see Baron Zemo in that lineup, and he was one of the original characters in that lineup in the comics, and he did not show up in that lineup that they showed at that panel.
This lineup feels like they're taking a lot of the lesser known characters and pairing them with some of the ones that got a little more audience credibility, just to kind of bring the level up. Like Ms. Marvel is getting tagged on to Captain Marvel, and they're kind of gonna even themselves out a little bit there too. You could argue which one's more popular in that scenario, I suppose, but if you're comparing Ghost to Bucky Barnes, it's not even a contest. So having them be on the same team, it's gonna hopefully make us like the characters more, but there's always the chance that it's just gonna make me hate their guts. So let's hope not.
Well, something else as well is that honestly, near the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you you could still see that that Barnes he wanted nothing to do with U.S. Agent. Like he wanted nothing to do with him because of.
He's essentially just like the
right.
Kmart Captain America who's his best friend, and no one wants to see that. So
yeah, and I'm thinking that the Thunderbolts it's pretty much the Suicide Squad of Marvel.
It's a little bit. Yeah. I was gonna say, question for the panel: do we think General Ross already shot his scenes? Clearly, the actor passed away, but he's kind of the biggest deal in the Thunderbolts, at least in the comic books. Yeah. Is there any chance that he already filmed his scenes and we get to see a posthumous appearance? Or is it more like too far down the line and we kind of just got to give up on having that payoff? Because they've been building him up as a character for 15 years, 10 years, whatever, whenever Incredible Hulk came out.
Something I could see them doing, I mean, I don't know if they will, is in, let's see, when Peter Cushing passed away, there was like, for Grand Moff Tarkin, it was like, okay, we'll never see that character live action again. But they found an actor that, which has played a lot of like iconic roles, to come in, do the voice, and then they did like the deep fake technology like on him in Rogue One, and that worked. And I could see them doing that for him in the show, but the thing is, that's going to be up to the family. The family of the deceased usually has like the rights.
They've got pretty good control, though, especially whoever's in charge of the estate, power of attorney, and all that good stuff. Yeah, gets into the legal mumbo jumbo, but if he shows up, then great. If he doesn't, I don't think anyone's gonna just lose their minds over his absence. It just would have been a cool thing for the fans.
Yeah. You can also recast it. It's an option.
That's true. Yeah, he's not like, this isn't Chadwick Boseman. Let's not give him so much credit. It's just
we need a grumpy old white dude with a mustache.
Like we recast War Machine already. I mean, we've recasted bigger characters already.
Yeah. And speaking of Rhodes, for Secret Invasion, what do we think about the trailer for that?
I was surprised to see Rhodes in it. I didn't see that coming. I mean, logically, I guess you kind of bring... I mean, we're known for cameos, so you might as well just throw in some fun cameos. I don't think we got to see Emilia Clarke, did we? Was I...
Yes.
Was she in that? I watched it, but I guess I missed her. It must have been quick.
So how they described the show is that's going to be like the next big crossover event. Is Secret Invasion, is that show. And they, to be honest, I think it's mainly going to be like of the side characters crossing over. The only main Avenger I think that will pop up in there will be Rhodes.
I mean, you can argue that Fury is kind of an original, but that's what you're saying.
Yes, yeah. Like, I could see them potentially maybe getting Sam, Bucky, some of those characters to show up in it, because Secret Invasion of that storyline was always very detailed in the comics, and it dealt with the main Avengers.
This seemed less cosmic than I was expecting for this, because it kind of seemed like they were hinting at the Skrulls, which is what they're doing. Clearly, that was shown in the trailer. Everybody's like a clone of each other. But at the same time, this feels more they're going like noir kind of crime, almost like a James Bond-esque spy type of show. At least that's what they did from the soundtrack and the background of the trailer. That's the vibe that I got, so hopefully they stick with that, because I'd much prefer that over another space adventure. That's just my personal preference, though.
Yeah. What projects are you guys most excited about of
Loki?
Okay, all right, wow, this man.
Yeah, Ray's randomly going to start appearing on the Marvel Stuff podcast again as soon as
Loki appears.
As soon as Loki appears, you're in.
I was really sad that no trailer dropped.
Well, the rumors of Henry Cavill showing up as a cast member at the D23 ended up being false, and now he's being hinted more towards Doctor Doom, and nobody knows anything. So I guess we'll just see what happens.
I mean, he's also rumored for House of Dragon, so we have no idea what's going on.
Yeah,
anymore.
He's so handsome and so good at being and hot. It's
good
stupid.
looking.
God, he's like Chris Hemsworth in like God Bod, but then he's got the nerd ability to like build the computer, and like it's pretty great. I can understand that. I can understand why you want him in everything.
I'm really excited for Secret Invasion.
It's gonna be cool.
My big thing is I worry. It's the fear I have for Star Wars too, but it's the fear that like I kind of already feel it for Marvel, which is that there's so much content coming. I don't personally want to keep track of everything.
Yeah, it's starting to get expansive to the point where it's gonna be hard to like if we do an
It's
Avengers.
starting to get expansive, dude.
It's getting worse. You know what I mean? I mean,
worse.
we're getting further and further into like characters that no one's ever heard of. Not that I'm complaining, but at the same time, you're not going to have real tie-ins with all these characters anymore. I think that's why we're getting 2 Avengers movies, because we essentially have 2 entire different super teams that are going to be team-ups. It's going to be impossible to get everyone involved.
There is also the ride that they announced that they're doing over at Disneyland, and that ride will be very similar to Rise of the Resistance, apparently, and it will deal with the multiverse, and there will be different versions of characters. So there will be the classic Steve, so there will be the classic Steve Rogers, but there will also be Captain Carter and different versions of Spider-Man and different versions of like.
I just wanted Jessica Alba cameo as Invisible Woman. Just throw it out real quick.
They will, and the main villain of that ride.
That's
honestly,
so funny. There's a villain of a ride.
No.
I know. I get it. I rode the Harry Potter ride. I get it. Like you have villains, but it's really funny to think about.
This was just announced a couple hours ago, but the villain of the multiverse for like that like story for that ride, his name is King Thanos. He like has like a weird space crown, and he has like a long white beard, and yeah, I know. I was like, okay. I was like,
no thanks.
Yeah. So I am.
They have a helicopter.
I hope the Thanos copter shows up.
I think that would be just a lot because of the concept art that they dropped for it was just like, whoa, man. Hang on, I will pull it up because I saw it and I was so surprised.
You didn't bring up. We kind of skimmed over Wakanda Forever. I think it's because it's coming up so quickly, but they did show some stuff for that. Got our first real glimpse at Riri Williams playing Ironheart. That's exciting stuff. She's another character that like definitely not well known. You would never be able to greenlight something like a show about that character at the beginning of any universe. So I think that's a benefit that Marvel has gotten being around for so long, is they get some like audience leniency to experiment a little bit more.
Because that was the thing with Ant-Man, where they were like, no one's gonna care about Ant-Man. They're just like, we care about Ant-Man.
Yeah, right. I mean, getting Paul Rudd, that was just like a genius move. Like, let's get one of Hollywood's most beloved actors. Yeah, that's an interesting looking Thanos
choice.
Yeah, because of Hank.
Yeah, I mean, that's neat. I'm sure the podcast listeners are real interested by us staring at that picture.
But yeah, so I am excited for the Werewolf by Night because that's happening on October 7th.
Soon. Yeah, that's really soon.
And that was kind of like a surprise, like
well, they announced it a while ago, but then I think they intentionally kept it silent until now because then they can get like the hype ramped back up. Because even in my head, I kind of forgot about it. I was like, oh man, what are we going to do on the Marvel Stuff podcast between She-Hulk and the Black Panther movie? Like, that's a solid month and a half, 2 months of just having to make stuff up. But now we've got Werewolf by Night to cover. So it's something. It'll be cool.
Yeah. And to be honest, I think, there will probably be a Blade cameo in it, like
in Werewolf by Night. I mean, that logically would, that lines up. I could see it.
Probably towards the end, it would be something about like a vampire or something, and I could just definitely see Blade just showing up.
Well, yeah, he fits fits the ticket.
It fits it perfectly, and then that way you could tie it directly into the MCU. Because you're right, for this one, no one really knows these characters, and
well, you could also make the opposite argument that the Wolfman has been around 100 years compared to comic book characters that haven't been around as long. So it's like, in relation to what it's being exposed in, that's true. But the Wolfman's been around for generations, and getting a new version of it, controlled by people that know what they're doing. I mean, sign me up. They've been doing some modern day like Monster Man stuff. Like, what was that Invisible Man movie that they did a while ago? Like that. Turned out pretty well, and that's a classic monster story.
New one.
The newer one.
Moss in it. That movie was amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like taking a concept that's old as time, and then all of a sudden they're putting a fresh spin on it, and it works again. So
something else as well, I think that the show will be in black and white for like the entirety of it, and it does have like the old style like feel as well. Like with those classic monster movies, I think it will do well.
If they're going to do a lot of practical effects, if they want to be true to, I guess, the genre they're going for. That's what they did in WandaVision, where whenever they did each generation of sitcom, they used the props that were available at that time. Obviously, we're going to upgrade it to 4K resolution, and they're going to have some things look better. But I mean,
for WandaVision, they used like not necessarily camera equipment, but they used like lenses and stuff from the time period to get that like accurate visual. So I don't know if they would use vintage lenses then as well.
I think that it's a smart move in this scenario, because if you're doing Werewolf by Night, it's obviously an older storyline. If you try and modernize it too much, where you're just like, oh, we have a CGI werewolf now, it's gonna come in full color, and then it just feels like it's Wolfman Walking Dead type of thing. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it would work as well. I think the fact that they're being true to what they're shooting for is the better move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, no. And they talk more about the Dare. I
was gonna say that's the thing I'm most excited for is Daredevil Born Again. He's my second favorite Marvel character, and Wolverine's still not around. So let's get my boy Matt Murdock up in here a bunch more.
And they also talked about Kingpin, of what his story will be going back into it. Because they did
we're
talk
doing
about
Echo first, yeah,
right, and then we'll go into Daredevil Born Again. And as if you haven't watched Hawkeye yet, spoilers alert, but at the end of it, Kingpin gets shot in the face.
No, he doesn't. It doesn't show on screen.
He gets shot.
Yeah.
It doesn't say where.
He's implied in the head.
All right, if they're getting him. This would be next level, like having him show up to all of these fan expos just to be like, yeah, he actually did die at the end of Hawkeye, and he's never showing up again.
From the footage that they showed at D23, they actually showed a shot of Kingpin where he is wearing where he's wearing some type of thing on his face, blocking his face, because he got shot in the face by Echo in the comics.
Yeah,
that's why they're following that story.
Kingpin's one of those characters where there's so many different versions of him that it's hard to actually know what he does. Because in some versions, he's just like super big, muscly, kind of fat guy, and he doesn't have any real powers. And then other times he can just lift cars and other nonsense, and he's actually partially bulletproof. Strength. Exactly. Yeah. So it just depends on what they're going to go for within the Disney universe of it all.
Yep. We'll have to wait, man. I am very excited. But here's the other thing, though, which I keep hearing and keep seeing is, do we think that as soon as Avengers Endgame finished, do you think Marvel kind of started going downhill?
We talk about this constantly because it I've seen it compared to finishing the main story and everything else as side quests at this point. I've seen it placed in different ways. I think Marvel has seen its peak, but I don't see it going down as fast as everyone's predicting the downfall of Marvel. I'm like, they have way too much money, way too much invested. This is going to go on for another 10 years at least. I don't think we're going to have the pinnacle that Endgame was ever again. But just recently we saw Spider-Man, and that blew up the box office. So it's not like they can't pull a trick out of their hat every once in a while. Like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
We're still here.
I was very much the same. I think we're going to start seeing Marvel tick back up once Disney starts figuring out how they want to start working mutants into the MCU.
Well, yeah, the mutants, the Fantastic Four, like we're still. That was the crazy thing about just this whole concept of starting the MCU, is the Avengers were not the main draw of Marvel comic books. They just weren't. I mean, Captain America was kind of washed. He was something that people like. Obviously, he's the pinnacle of an American hero, but at the same time, he wasn't popular in comic books anymore. His stuff wasn't selling off the shelves.
He's a guy in a Stars and Stripes jumpsuit with a round shield.
Mm-hmm. Iron Man was arguably a C-list hero at one point in the comic books. So the fact that he is now the god of the MCU, I mean, Marvel has established these characters that weren't even that great to start with, and now they've got these ones that, we've got Marvel's first family in the Fantastic Four, which was some of the best-selling comic books back in the day, and obviously the X-Men. We got to see the modern-day X-Men movies on the Fox, but I think Disney's only going to do better than that because they were so hit or miss. So we're just going to see things increase.
Do we think that Jason Segel will show up as the Thing in She-Hulk? Because I know that's been
I saw that rumor. I wouldn't be upset. I love Jason Segel. I mean, it's just a voice. It's not like he has to get jacked and use the prosthetic stuff like they did in the original. So,
no,
whatever works is
we have the technology.
Exactly. Yeah. But that was the other. We kind of did a circle there. So Fantastic Four, they got. Is it Matt Shackman? Yeah, Matt Shackman, the guy that did WandaVision, is now the director of Fantastic Four, which originally was John Watts, right, who did the Spider-Man movies.
And now John Watts is doing... Well, so John Watts stopped doing Fantastic Four because he wanted to move on to different things, but also he had the chance to do a Star Wars project, which is the Skeleton Crew. So that's something that I think he wanted to kind of jump to so then he can have these two big genres on his resume.
Well, he's making the jump is what I'm saying. Like he's directed films before, but are any of them like WandaVision, I would argue, is probably his big break. So giving him the upgrade, I think it was a smart move to pivot from John Watts, who didn't want to do the Fantastic Four, to Matt Shackman, who was, kind of a big deal because of WandaVision. Obviously, he's got an established, work base behind that, but WandaVision being the most recent thing that everybody had their eyes on. He's shown that he can be successful in establishing characters and telling really good storylines through a few episodes. I think it's only going to get better with the movie.
That's also funny because I remember when WandaVision was happening that everyone was thinking that like that secret scientist that they kept hinting at was going to be Reed Richards, and then he never showed up, and I was disappointed. As much as I like that show, there were a lot of disappointments in it. I know Brooke doesn't agree with it, but that show was great, but near the end it was just a letdown because of there was so much build up to where like you thought like there were going to be a bunch of cameos, a direct cameo like to the X-Men somehow, and then it ended up being like, nope, you were wrong, all of you were wrong. It's actually this, it's all fake.
Well, that's kind of the problem with us having our podcast is like we don't want to be a speculation podcast, but at the same time, when things get loud enough, you kind of have to address them. So the fact that Mephisto wasn't in WandaVision was pretty much the world's biggest letdown.
Yeah,
and it's a lot of people just being like guessing. They're like, "Oh, I think this is gonna happen," and then you let yourself down by like thinking something's gonna happen, and then you get disappointed because the thing you thought was gonna happen didn't. So it's like you're causing your own pain.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was fantastic. And same. I just let it be what it was. And like I wasn't like trying to expect anything from it. I was just enjoying it as I watched it.
Constantly at war with myself trying not to do that. It's like, man, I'm a big comic book nerd, so I'm like, I really want this cool thing to happen, but I'm like, they can make a great project and not do the cool thing that I want to happen, and that's okay.
It's you can't be disappointed by it if you keep your expectations reasonable.
Not necessarily an optimistic point of view, but I see what you're saying.
Well, just because, when they first announced we're getting a Kenobi project, I was going to be like, oh my God, we're going to get, hours of Kenobi. It was 30 minutes every night that came out. So I was like, all right, as long as we don't go below 30 minutes episode length,
I thought we were going to see more of a transition between just Ewan McGregor being the age he was to Old Man Kenobi and maybe some more time jumping. I wasn't upset with what came out, but I could have seen them jumping like, hey, here's 10 years later. He's 5 years later.
Yeah. I was hoping for at least one Clone Wars flashback, like of just seeing Hayden and Ewan like actually wearing like the Clone Wars armor, everyone would have lost it, bro.
That's true. That they really could have done the fan service there.
Opportunity to do that, and they didn't.
Okay, but did you see the split mask part? I mean, let's give them credit where it's due.
I'm talking to people who were on the set of Kenobi. Some bits were filmed involving a character in orange armor and a character in blue armor, but they just got cut.
They got Flippy?
Man, I wonder who those characters were.
Yeah.
Flippy, childhood star.
They cut stuff constantly, so.
Yeah. Shoot, man.
Yeah. Maybe it'll happen in the next season of Kenobi because everybody wants another season of Kenobi.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if they keep doing seasons of
not to.
At the same time, they told kind of a complete story, and if they try, and it's kind of like putting a hat on a hat, and they might milk it too much. So,
and
yeah, I guess that's true.
And this is something that we've been talking about, and here is my my kind of split in the middle solution is you honestly could just do a Vader series, and even though the joke is made, the entire like Skywalker, like,
oh yeah, that's true.
Anakin,
I mean, did you watch Star Wars? That is the Vader series.
I am talking about like of that time of where it's like it is Vader in his prime. And
dude, if we get Homeboy from The Force Unleashed or anybody like that, or Cal Kestis from any of these guys, it'd be sweet.
It would be very hard to make Star Killer canon. His story, there's no way his story would ever
right,
be
but
able to
you
be
were
canon.
too focused on like having to everything that he's done has to be established. You can introduce a similar character and not have him
exactly. But I mean, but not his story. Like if that character shows
that's
up,
fine.
Cool.
Yeah.
But
Star Killer is one of those characters where, as much as I enjoyed him in the games, I hope he never gets brought into canon.
He is so OP. Like he's so OP in the games. He was.
Did
like,
you see Vader in Rogue One? I mean, that was pretty OP too.
Whoa!
That's fine.
I know. I get it.
That
Okay,
is
fine.
Vader.
Sorry, didn't want to just blasphemy on your god. My fault.
If we're gonna do a Vader series, we can always do it after
Here's
the
the bite.
2020 Vader comics.
Yeah,
that's
that'd be
true.
cool.
I heard a rumor that we're gonna do a comic book club on that whole series, but we'll see if that comes eventually.
I volunteer as tribute.
Last thing we didn't talk about on Marvel that I at least wanted to mention was Captain America: New World Order, Anthony Mackie's thing.
I'm excited.
Me too. Plus, confirmed that Isaiah Bradley is going to be returning, so I was pretty excited for that.
Returning. Yeah.
Yes. There wasn't a whole lot revealed about it, but the fact that I could, that storyline with Isaiah Bradley felt like it kind of ended on a little bit of a sour note within Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Because he didn't get his comeuppance or anything. Like, he was mistreated pretty poorly, and then he's like, I guess it's okay. Like, that's not really how that should have happened. And that's not, I'm glad they're addressing that.
Can we talk about how the leader's coming back, though? Like, it's the same actor that played him in the 2008 Incredible Hulk, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that because we need more villains, and there's so many villains that are just like those one-time villains that like pop up in a movie and then you never see them again. And I think they're starting to break that tradition.
I've made it pretty clear that, like, with the exception of like Thanos and Loki, Marvel kind of fell victim to the one-off villain scenarios where it's like someone like Ultron should have been a lot more than one movie, and it was kind of over at that point. So
because
they've got
that was not an age, that was like a week.
The age was 2 hours. That was the whole age.
Yep.
I mean, the same about the long night in Game of Thrones. So
of what?
The long night in Game of Thrones. Oh, it's a long night. It was 6 hours.
Mm-hmm. I do love Game of Thrones, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no. That honestly was like everything from Star Wars to Marvel. Unless you guys wanted to dive.
Video game. I think the video game.
Oh, yeah.
There was a new Marvel video game that's confirmed that it's going to be Captain America, and I think it's T'Challa's grandfather. Set World War II, and I think maybe like the origin of the Milage, Nicki Minaj, whatever, one of those words. But yes, and it's going to be legendary. I am really excited for that because I mean, I'd love to see Marvel get the AAA treatment outside of Spider-Man because those games are great. But if you played Marvel's Avengers, you play it for 3 hours, you've played the whole game, and you really they're introducing new characters. Give them credit where it's due, but at the same time, it's repetitive gameplay, and I can't wait for a really well-taught story.
So here's my thing about that. Honestly, I used to agree with that, but after I actually started to jump from different characters and they actually started to add more to the for a bunch of the characters they added. Now they have stories like where you
plug more money into the microtransactions. You mean? Yes, I know.
No,
I get what you're saying.
But what that game is going to be is that will be very similar, apparently, to Gotham Knights. Me and Noah are streaming that whole game on our YouTube and Twitch stuff because I already pre-ordered that game. I'm the DC nerd, so that's gonna we're gonna know exactly what happened in that game. Oh yeah. But yeah, there's that. There's the Marvel Midnight
Suns. Oh, that was already supposed to come out. My dog was upset about the way I'm talking. Go ahead and keep talking, Colin.
That just doesn't really look the best to me because it's a strategy game, like of where like you kind of click like of where you want the characters to go, and then they go, and then like they fight people, and then you.
It looked cool before when it was like you saw just the cast and just the armor and things, but then you find out that it's a turn-based card game, which is okay for some gamers, but I would rather just bathe in vinegar after I go down a water slide on a cheese grater type of thing. Those games annoy me. I hate them. It is not my jam. So got you.
I would love a game like Marvel Alliance again. Like
Marvel Ultimate Alliance are some of the greatest games ever. Me and my brother beat them so many times. It's
that
gross.
Game, but honestly, just make it Marvel Alliance 3 and just
they already did a Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. It's a Twitch or Switch exclusive. I've never played it. It's true though.
Well, Alliance 4 for the consoles then at least, but because of those games were fun. Those games were actually fun. But yeah, no, that honestly is everything. Unless you guys wanted to, dive deeper into, all the projects that we want to talk about, like Inside Out 2, the new Peter Pan movie that's going to be in Disney.
They're doing
Plus
Peter Pan again?
Yeah, new one.
Peter Pan and Wendy.
Stop.
Are we going to base it more on the book? Is Tinkerbell going to swear?
Ooh, are we gonna make Peter Pan more realistic and he just kidnaps
to say
children?
She hasn't been.
This is true.
Yeah,
this
the
is
same
true.
way that R2 has been swearing a storm.
And that's true the whole time. He's done nothing but expletives.
I mean, if we're gonna go the book route, Peter Pan teaches kids how to fly but not land.
Yep.
So
that's
they
the move
die
right there.
from exhaustion.
Never land.
Oh man, this is taking a dark turn. Well, guys, we're on Facebook.
You're welcome.
We're on Facebook over at the Star Wars Stuff group and the Star Wars Stuff podcast page. We're also
Marvel
on
stuff
Patreon.
Also.
Yep, I'm getting there.
Sorry, dude. I was trying to do all the Facebook at once. That's on me.
Yeah,
go ahead.
cool.
Do your thing.
Okay, cool. We're also on Patreon. We have a lot going on Patreon. We have a lot more to come, especially with Andor. There are we have a lot of tiers. Our biggest tier is our Black Kyber Crystal tier, where you have all of the access for this tier, plus all the other tiers that came before it. And then you also have a chance to win items from our unboxing videos. One that we did recently was the Babu Frick that they had at the parks. So, and some.
What'd you just call me?
But yeah, so please go check out our Patreon. We are on TikTok, search Star Wars Stuff Podcast, Twitter at Stuff Pod, Instagram at Star Wars Stuff Podcast. Please go and email us at starwarsstuff@gmail.com, and please give us a 5-star or just a review. Apparently, all you love David, so just keep,
Oh yeah, love that. Oh, I love that the Marvel Stuff podcast got a 5-star that was just calling Colin hot. I was like, sweet. Misspelled his name, but they're like, hey, the guy that's been on this show 4 times, he's hot.
Wait, hold up.
I'm pretty sure it was Audie or something.
That picture you sent was for the Marvel Stuff podcast and not the Star Wars Stuff podcast?
Yes, it was, Colin.
Oh, that's funnier.
It's way funnier. But yeah, nice transition, Colin. Excellent work. When really I planted it. Go ahead, Ray.
Question on one of our socials. Is our Twitter really @StuffPod?
Yes. Because
it's not Star Wars Stuff Pod?
Someone took it a while ago, and it was actually really funny because on podcast day when they announced the top 10 Star Wars podcasts in the world, tagged that
the randos
tagged that page
Twitter. Nice.
Awkward.
But that page was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not us, it's them. We had their name long before they came up with it, but here, and we were like, okay, because they've been on Twitter for since the beginning of it, I guess, and but yeah, so yeah, that's her name.
Cool. Yep.
That's the origin story. That was fun.
Marvel Stuff Podcast. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. We drop episodes on Mondays. Gotham City Rogues. We're covering House of the Dragon right now. It's pretty sweet. Those come out on Tuesdays, so come check out. Come hang out. Got some fun friends, and it's a great time.
Christian, where can we find you at?
You can find me on TikTok and Instagram at Kenobian Around. I also have a Twitter for that, but I never use it. So
there you go. I have known Christian for a couple of years. He's actually one of the main reasons why I have my Anakin Skywalker. So thank you so much for what you do for the community and everything, man. You are the reason why I had the courage to get into and into doing a character that that's not wearing a helmet. So,
yeah, face characters are hard.
Yeah,
they're fun though.
They're fun.
Yes.
They're hard. They're fun.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But with that being said, from myself, Christian, Ray, Josh, and Brooke, the Force will be with you. Excelsior, all that DC and other stuff that that. Josh
you mean just no consistency, no established power. It's just kind of a mess right now. But I'm still
exactly.
It's okay.
With that being said, may the Force be with you.
Always.